The oldest son set off to find his fortune with his rooster. Except he discovered, as he traveled, everybody already knew about roosters. They were everywhere, in the barnyards, in the city streets, on top of houses, spinning around. So he got a little discouraged until he found an island where no one had heard of roosters. In fact, they couldn't regulate time very well. I mean, they knew when it was morning and when it was evening, but if it was dark and they woke up in the middle of the night, they didn't know how long it was until dawn. So the oldest son started making a big deal about the rooster. "Look at this magnificent creature," he said. "It has a ruby red crown, spurs like a knight, and it will crow 3 times during the night, and the 3rd time will be right before the break of dawn." So the whole island stayed up all night to listen to the rooster. They were really excited. And lo and behold, it crowed 3 times during the night, and the last time, the sun rose just afterwards. They asked the sun how much he wanted for the rooster, and he said, "As much gold as a donkey can carry." So they gave him the gold, and he went home to his brothers, who were pretty amazed that he had got so much money from a rooster.
As time flew, Sue grew up to be a handsome young man, and so was his companion, which became a sturdy fine horse as white as snow. So that's called him Snow White. One year, there was a horse racing event held by a prince, which attracted competitors from all over the grassland, including Sue, who said to his companion excitedly, "Snow White, everyone is going to the competition. Let's go, shall we?" Snow White nodded his head and neighed, "Win, win, win the game." So they set out the journey. Soon the racing began, and the track was overwhelmed with sands and dust flying and swirling everywhere. You can only see blurry shades of black, gray, chestnut, cream, and other colors overlapping side by side. But what's ahead of the group was a white lightning that captured everyone's attention. As the lightning reached the finishing point, it finally came into view. It was Sue and Snow White. They received a round of thundering applause from the audience.
Eventually, he came across the beautiful woman again, and she ran up to him in the road, and she said, "Welcome back, traveler. What news do you bring from God?" And the man thought, and he said, "Oh, I have wonderful news indeed. God has said that all you need to do is find a companion, someone to love for your whole life, and then you will be happy." And the woman thought, and she looked him over, and she said, "Well, you've certainly worked very hard, and you've done this great favor for me, and you're not bad to look at. You be my companion. What do you say?" And he said, "No, I'm so sorry. God has sent me to find my fortune, and I have no time for such things." And before the woman could say another word, the man hurried on his way.
They quickly started to argue over who owned the horse. The carpenter said, "Oh, I own it. I'm the one who came up with the idea in the first place." And the shoemaker said, No. I own it. If I hadn't made the reins, we wouldn't be able to ride it." And the rabbi said, my friends, I should own the horse. I was the one who wrote the blessing that gave it life." They couldn't come to an agreement. So they traveled to the king. The king had one son, an heir, his only child. And this son, this prince, was quite curious, and he said, "Rabbi, can this horse be ridden?" And the rabbi said, "Of course, simply climb on and stroke its left ear." So the prince mounted the great, beautiful magic horse, twisted the left ear, at which point the horse burst into the air, flew through a window, and the prince disappeared over the horizon. The king was not pleased. The queen was in hysterics. What if her son fell to his death? And the courtiers began to gossip, wondering who could take over if the prince were to die. And the carpenter, shoemaker, and rabbi quickly left the palace and were never seen in that town again.
Her mother did her deadly spite, for she sent thieves in the dark of the night. They robbed her bower, they slew her knight, they put her servants all to flight. They couldn't do to her no harm, so they slew her baby in her arms, left her not to wrap her in, but the bloody sheet that she lay in. They left her not to dig the grave, but the bloody sword that killed her babe. And all alone the song she sang, and all alone the grave she made. She leaned her head against the block, and there she cut her lovely locks. Changed her name from Eleanor, she changed it to Sweet William. Eleanor sat there in the grass, her home still burning, her babe in her arms, and the man she loved dead at her side. She held her babe tight to her breast and stroked her husband's head. But she was alone, all alone.
I get a lot of stuff on my desk about how to combat bullying. Not impressed with any of it. And frankly, neither are the sixth graders. But when they're getting a little too snarky, and we roll around to this time of year, I say, no homework tonight, guys, I'm telling you a story. And they hear about Michael. And the immense power that they have in their words that's greater than their hockey sticks, their math calculations, their trumpet playing. You can't mess with that power. And I tell my students, what you say matters. Not just on Friday, but on Monday morning. So be careful with your power.
My dad backed the truck up to this little thin ribbon of waterway between lush vegetation. And he worked very rigorously to get the two-man boat out of the back of our little truck. I tried to help him, but I was not any bigger then than I am now. So, in fact, I probably am a little bigger now, actually. At any rate, I wondered if he was beginning to regret his choice of me as a fishing partner. But we eventually got that boat out, got it onto the water, our cooler full of provisions, and after a few lessons, I learned how to cast my line without much loss of line or limb. And our afternoon proceeded amiably and quietly. I say quietly because my dad and I weren't talking, but there was a kind of music all around us, and our casting fell into a rhythm with it, so that the clicks and whirs of our reel was indiscernible from the hum of insects' wings. And dragonflies flitted and whizzed along the surface of the lake, and invisible spiders sprang across the mirrored surface. And calling, cooing birds were so well hidden that the leafy trees themselves seemed to be singing.
I nabbed him. Long story short, he was mine. I got him. So I had my one and only true love. I mean, literally, my one and only true love. This was him. And I repaid him in an amazing way. I took him to an NSYNC show. This man, this boyfriend, this love of my life from Scotland traveled all the way over here on his spring break. He took out an extra student loan to come and see me, and I took him to an NSYNC concert because I loved him. So I want you for a second, hop on the choo-choo train of thought with me. I loved him. He loved me.
he would want to see me happy. And I'd be happy at an NSYNC show. I mean, he liked Backstreet Boys. I had seen him bust a move to Backstreet Boys. He was super duper uber drunk. But it happened. So I just, this made sense in my mind. This was going to be it. I had my love. I had NSYNC. It was going to be an amazing night.